I thought my family loved me, until they lied about Christmas being canceled. What you're about to hear isn't just a story about holiday drama. It's about discovering that the people you trust most can be the ones who hurt you deepest. My name is Amanda Johnson, and this Christmas taught me a lesson I'll never forget. For 32 years, I believed I was the glue that held our family together. Every Thanksgiving, every Easter, every birthday party, I was the one making the reservations, coordinating the schedules, buying the gifts that everyone else forgot. My apartment was constantly filled with Amazon boxes addressed to my parents, my sister Sarah, my brother Michael. I'd wrap their presents, write their cards, and somehow always end up paying for dinner because, "Oh, Amanda, you're so organized with money." My mom would always brag to her friends, "Amanda takes care of everything. We're so lucky to have such a responsible daughter." And I ate it up. I lived for those moments of recognition, those brief instances where I felt valued and needed. Looking back now, I realize how exhausting it was to constantly prove my worth through acts of service. The first crack in my perfect family picture started showing about 2 months before Christmas. I noticed I wasn't getting added to the family group chat anymore. You know the one, where they plan surprise parties and coordinate gifts. When I asked Sarah about it, she'd brush it off. "Oh, that old chat? We barely use it anymore." But I'd catch glimpses of their phones lighting up with notifications, hushed conversations that stopped when I walked into the room. Then there were the smaller exclusions. Mom's birthday dinner that I must have missed the text about, even though she texted everyone else 3 times. Michael's promotion celebration that was just a quick drink, nothing planned. Each time, they had a perfectly reasonable explanation. Each time, I felt a little more invisible. The week before Christmas, I was in full holiday mode. I'd already bought presents for everyone, planned to bring my famous sweet potato casserole, and even offered to host Christmas dinner at my place since Mom had been complaining about the stress of cooking for everyone. That's when the text came. December 23rd, 2:47 p.m. I was in the middle of grocery shopping, cart full of ingredients for Christmas cookies I planned to make for the family, when my phone buzzed. Mom's contact photo, that sweet picture of her from last year's Christmas morning, filled my screen. "Hi, honey. Bad news. We're canceling Christmas dinner this year. Weather forecast looks terrible and everyone's agreed it's better to stay home. Don't want anyone driving in dangerous conditions. Love you." I stopped dead in the middle of the baking aisle, other shoppers flowing around me like water around a rock. My first emotion wasn't anger. It was crushing disappointment mixed with genuine concern. The weather had been mentioned on the news, something about a possible winter storm system moving through our area. I immediately called her back. "Mom, are you sure? I could still host at my place. My apartment complex always clears the roads really well, and I'm only 15 minutes from you guys." "Oh, honey, no." Her voice had that tone, the one she used when she'd already made up her mind and didn't want to discuss it further. "Everyone's already decided. Michael's worried about the baby being out in bad weather, and Sarah said David doesn't want to risk it with his new car. It's just better this way. We can do something after the holidays when it's safer." "But Mom, I already bought all the food. I have presents wrapped. I was going to make cookies tonight." "I know, sweetie, and that's so thoughtful of you, but this is the responsible thing to do. You understand, right? You're always so good about being flexible." There it was again, that praise that somehow felt more like a burden than a compliment. I was always so good about accommodating everyone else's needs, so flexible when plans changed at the last minute. When had being understanding become my defining characteristic? "Okay," I heard myself saying, even as my heart sank. "I guess you're right. Safety first." "That's my girl. We'll make it up to you, I promise. Maybe we can do something special for New Year's?" After I hung up, I stood there for another 10 minutes, staring at my cart full of Christmas groceries. Other families were shopping around me, kids excitedly pointing at candy canes, parents checking items off their lists with the harried but happy expression of people preparing for celebration. And here I was, suddenly planning a Christmas for one. I made it through checkout on autopilot, the cashier making cheerful small talk about Christmas plans that I responded to with generic pleasantries. "Oh, just a quiet holiday this year." The words felt like cotton in my mouth. That evening, I sat in my apartment surrounded by wrapped presents and unopened ingredients, trying to shake the feeling that something was off. The weather outside was cold but clear, not a snowflake in sight. I checked my weather app obsessively. Partly cloudy, low chance of precipitation, roads clear. But weather can change quickly, right? Maybe they knew something I didn't. Christmas Eve arrived gray and drizzly, but nothing that would stop anyone from driving. I woke up to the sound of my upstairs neighbors getting ready for their own family celebrations, footsteps hurrying back and forth, the sounds of excited children, cars starting in the parking lot as people headed out for the day. I tried to make the best of it. I made myself a nice breakfast, watched some Christmas movies, even opened one small present I'd bought for myself weeks ago, a cozy throw blanket that now felt more like a consolation prize than a treat. Around noon, I ordered Chinese takeout because that's what you do when you're spending Christmas alone, right? Lean into the cliché. But by evening, the loneliness was suffocating. My apartment felt too quiet, too still. The Christmas tree I'd decorated with such excitement 2 weeks ago now looked almost mockingly cheerful, its lights reflecting off the windows that showed only empty parking lots and other people's warm, glowing homes. That's when I decided to take a drive. Not to anywhere specific, just out. Maybe I'd pick up some last-minute holiday items for next year when they went on clearance. Maybe I'd drive around and look at Christmas lights. Anything to get out of my head and out of that apartment. I grabbed my keys and coat, telling myself this was just a normal evening drive. Nothing planned, nothing intentional, just a lonely woman on Christmas Eve trying to feel less alone. The streets were quieter than usual. Most people already settled in for their holiday celebrations. I drove aimlessly for about 20 minutes, taking familiar routes through neighborhoods I'd grown up in. The Christmas decorations looked beautiful against the early evening sky. Wreaths on doors, trees glowing through front windows, inflatable Santas swaying gently in front yards. That's when I found myself on Maple Street, Sarah's street. I hadn't planned to drive by her house. At least, that's what I told myself. But there I was, slowing down as I approached the familiar blue colonial with the white picket fence that she and David had bought 3 years ago. And that's when I saw them. 3 cars parked in Sarah's driveway, 4 more lined up along the curb in front of her house. Cars I recognized. Mom's silver Honda Civic, Dad's black pickup truck, Michael's red SUV with the car seat visible in the back window, Uncle Jim's ancient Buick that he only drove to family events. My heart stopped. Actually stopped. I pulled over 2 houses down and just sat there, engine running, staring at what was unmistakably a family gathering in full swing. The house was blazing with light. Every window glowed warm and golden, and I could see silhouettes moving around inside. People. Lots of people. My people. The people who were supposed to be staying home because of dangerous weather that clearly didn't exist. I sat in my car for I don't know how long. Could have been 5 minutes, could have been 20. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel, and I felt this awful combination of disbelief and certainty. Disbelief because surely there was some explanation, some misunderstanding. Certainty because deep down, some part of me had known. Some part of me had felt the truth all along. The front door opened, and I saw Dad step out onto the porch, probably getting some air, or maybe sneaking a cigarette like he did at family parties when he thought Mom wasn't watching. The sight of him, so clearly not worried about dangerous weather, so obviously comfortable and happy, hit me like a physical blow. I started crying then. Not the gentle, sad tears of disappointment, but the ugly, gasping sobs of betrayal. I cried for the Christmas I'd planned, for the sweet potato casserole that was still sitting in my refrigerator, for all the times I'd bent over backward to accommodate everyone else's schedules and preferences. But mostly, I cried for the naive woman who had believed her family when they said they loved her. After what felt like forever, I managed to pull myself together enough to drive home. My hands were still shaking, and I had to pull over twice when the crying got too bad to see clearly. But I made it back to my apartment, back to my too quiet space with its cheerful decorations that now felt like they were mocking me. I didn't sleep that night. I spent hours going over every interaction from the past few months, every exclusion, every misunderstanding. I thought about all the times I'd made excuses for them, all the times I'd told myself I was being too sensitive or reading too much into things. And then, around 3 a.m., I did something I'd never done before. I got on my phone and started researching. Family scapegoating, emotional exclusion, family dynamics toxic patterns. What I found made everything click into place in the most devastating way possible. I wasn't losing my mind. I wasn't being overly dramatic. What had happened to me had a name, and it happened to thousands of other people. The convenient exclusions, the gaslighting, the way they made me feel grateful for scraps of attention while simultaneously positioning me as the one who was too busy or too difficult to include. It was all part of a pattern. By morning, I was exhausted but strangely clear-headed. The crying was done. The self-doubt was done. I knew exactly what had happened, and I knew exactly what I was going to do about it. That's when my phone rang. It was Christmas morning, about 10 a.m. Sarah's name flashed on my screen, along with her smiling face from our last family photo, the one where I'm standing slightly apart from everyone else, I now realized. But I didn't answer. Instead, I opened Instagram. And there it was, posted 6 hours ago when I was finally falling into an exhausted sleep. A photo of my entire family gathered around Sarah's dining room table, glasses raised in a toast. Mom's face bright with laughter. Dad carving what looked like a perfect turkey. Michael's baby in a high chair, tiny hands reaching for something off camera. Sarah and David looking like the perfect hosts. The caption read, "Perfect holiday. So grateful for family time and making memories. Best Christmas dinner ever. Blessed Sha'ar family. Chatter Christmas magic." 23 likes already. Comments from cousins and family friends. Looks amazing. Beautiful family. Merry Christmas. And there, in the corner of the photo, I could see my wrapped presents under their tree. The ones I'd bought and carefully selected and wrapped with love. They were there, at the party I wasn't invited to, the party that didn't exist because of the weather that was perfectly fine. That's when my phone started ringing again. This time, it was Mom. I stared at Mom's contact photo for 3 rings before I answered. Her cheerful face smiled back at me from the screen, the same face that had looked so happy in Sarah's Instagram post just hours earlier. "Merry Christmas, honey." Her voice was bright, almost aggressively cheerful. "How are you doing? I hope you weren't too lonely yesterday. We really missed having you there, but you know how it is with the weather and everything." The audacity was breathtaking. I sat there in my pajamas, surrounded by the evidence of my solitary Christmas, the takeout containers still on my coffee table, the presents I'd wrapped for them still sitting unopened under my tree, and listened to her lie to my face with the ease of someone who'd had plenty of practice. "Actually, Mom," I said, my voice surprisingly steady, "I wasn't too lonely. I took a drive yesterday evening. Interesting how the weather cleared up so nicely." There was a pause, a tiny, almost imperceptible hesitation that told me everything I needed to know. "Oh, well, you know how these weather systems can be unpredictable. Better safe than sorry, right? We were all just hunkered down at home anyway. Very quiet evening." I pulled up Sarah's Instagram on my phone while we talked, scrolling through the photos she'd posted throughout the evening. There were at least 8 different posts. The dinner table, the dessert spread, the kids playing with new toys, the family group shot with everyone's arms around each other. Sarah posted some beautiful photos of her quiet evening at home. Another pause, this one longer. Oh, did she? Well, you know Sarah, always taking pictures of every little thing. Probably just throwback photos from last year or something. The lie came so easily, so smoothly, that I almost admired the skill involved. Almost. "Mom, the photos are time-stamped from yesterday. There's one of baby Emma in her Christmas outfit from this year, the one Michael posted about buying last week. And I can see Dad's new watch in one of the pictures, the one he bought himself for retirement." The silence stretched between us like a chasm. I could practically hear her mind racing, trying to figure out how to spin this, how to make me doubt what I was seeing with my own eyes. Amanda, honey, I think there might be some misunderstanding here. No, Mom. There's no misunderstanding. I drove by Sarah's house last night. I saw all the cars, Dad's truck, Michael's SUV, Uncle Jim's Buick. I saw the lights, the people inside. I sat in my car for 20 minutes watching my family have Christmas dinner without me while you all told me it was canceled. Now the silence was deafening. I could hear her breathing on the other end of the line, and for a moment I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Amanda, sweetheart, it's not what you think. It was very last minute, and we thought— You thought what exactly? That I wouldn't find out? That I'd just accept being excluded and not ask questions? Or did you think I was too pathetic to have anything better to do on Christmas than sit home alone, so it didn't matter if you lied to me? We thought you'd be busy anyway. The words came out in a rush, like she'd been holding them back, and they finally spilled over. You're always so busy with work, and you've been different lately. Less available. We didn't think you'd want to come to a big family thing. There it was. The truth, finally, wrapped in just enough gaslighting to make me question myself. I'd been different, less available. As if setting boundaries and not being available 24/7 to solve everyone else's problems made me deserving of exile. When have I ever been too busy for family? When have I ever turned down a family gathering? I organized Thanksgiving. I planned Mom's birthday party. I've shown up to every single event for 32 years, often at my own expense, often changing my own plans to accommodate everyone else's schedules. I know, honey, but lately you've seemed a little distant, and Sarah thought maybe you needed some space to figure things out. Sarah thought? Or Sarah suggested? The pieces were clicking together now, forming a picture I didn't want to see but couldn't ignore. How long has this been planned, Mom? How long have you all been discussing excluding me from family events? It's not like that, Amanda. We just thought, stop. Just stop lying to me. I know what happened. You all decided to have Christmas without me. You made up a story about the weather, and you thought I was either too stupid or too unimportant to find out. The only question is why. I could hear voices in the background, Dad asking who she was talking to, probably wondering why this conversation was taking so long. The irony wasn't lost on me that even now, even in the middle of this confrontation, I was being treated like an interruption to their holiday celebration. Your father wants to talk to you, Mom said, her voice smaller now. Hi, Pumpkin. Dad's voice came on the line, using the nickname he'd called me since I was 5. Your mom says you're upset about yesterday. I'm upset that my family lied to me, Dad. I'm upset that I spent Christmas alone because you all told me dinner was canceled due to weather that didn't exist. Now, Amanda, I think you're getting a little worked up over a misunderstanding. These things happen. Why don't we just put this behind us and plan something nice for New Year's? The casual dismissal hit me like a slap. These things happen, as if orchestrating my exclusion from Christmas was just an innocent miscommunication, as if my feelings were an overreaction to be managed rather than acknowledged. Dad, this wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a deliberate choice. You all chose to lie to me rather than have an honest conversation about whatever problem you have with me. We don't have a problem with you, honey. We love you. We just thought maybe you'd appreciate a quiet holiday after how busy you've been. I work a normal job with normal hours. I'm not any busier than anyone else. And even if I was, shouldn't that be my choice to make? Shouldn't you ask me what I want instead of deciding for me? I could hear him sigh. That long-suffering sound he made when he thought someone was being unreasonable. I'd heard it directed at me more and more lately, I realized. Every time I didn't immediately agree with what the family wanted, every time I expressed my own opinion or needs. Look, Pumpkin, I think you're reading too much into this. Why don't you come over for dinner tonight? Your mom's making pot roast and we can talk about this face to face. No, Dad. I'm not coming over so you can all gang up on me and convince me that what I saw didn't happen. I need some time to think about this. Amanda, don't be dramatic. I hung up. My hands were shaking again, but this time it wasn't from hurt. It was from anger. Clean, pure, righteous anger that burned away the self-doubt and confusion I'd been carrying for months. They had lied to me. They had excluded me, and now they were trying to gaslight me into believing it was all in my head. My phone immediately started ringing again. Mom. I declined the call. It rang again. Dad, this time. Declined. Then Sarah. Then Michael. Then Mom again. I turned my phone to silent and set it face down on the coffee table. For the first time in hours, my apartment was completely quiet. No lying voices, no gaslighting explanations, no family members trying to convince me that my reality wasn't real. Just silence and the sound of my own breathing and the truth sitting heavy in my chest. I spent the next hour researching more about family scapegoating and emotional abuse. What I found was both devastating and liberating. Article after article describing patterns that felt like someone had been spying on my life. The family member who's always expected to be understanding, flexible, accommodating. The one who gets blamed for being too sensitive when they react to mistreatment. The one who's systematically excluded and then told it's for their own good. There were support forums full of people sharing stories that sounded eerily similar to mine. Adult children who'd been pushed out of family gatherings, then told they were imagining the rejection. People who'd spent years wondering if they were crazy, only to discover that their families had been deliberately manipulating their reality. One post in particular stopped me cold. A woman about my age describing how her family had canceled Thanksgiving, claiming her grandmother was too sick for visitors, then posted photos of their celebration on social media. The comments were full of people sharing similar experiences. Holidays canceled due to fake emergencies. Family events they mysteriously forgot to invite certain members to. Group chats they were excluded from. I wasn't alone. I wasn't crazy. And I wasn't the first person to discover that the family who claimed to love her had been systematically cutting her out while pretending it was for her own good. My phone had been buzzing constantly for the past hour, calls and texts from various family members. I finally picked it up and scrolled through the messages. Mom, honey, please call me back. We need to talk about this. Dad, don't be upset, pumpkin. Come over tonight and we'll work this out. Sarah, Amanda, Mom says you're mad about yesterday. Can we talk? I think there's been a misunderstanding. Michael, hey sis, heard there's some drama about Christmas. Let's grab lunch this week and sort it out. Even Uncle Jim had texted, Amanda, your mom says you're hurt about the holiday. These things happen, kiddo. Don't let it ruin the family. Every single message followed the same pattern. Minimize what happened, suggest it was a misunderstanding, offer to work it out, or sort it out, as if my feelings were a problem to be solved rather than a legitimate response to their behavior. Not one apology. Not one acknowledgement that they had lied to me. Not one person taking responsibility for the choice to exclude me and then lie about it. I started typing responses and then deleting them. What was there to say? That I was hurt? They already knew that and clearly didn't care. That they had lied? They already knew that too and had decided to double down on the gaslighting rather than admit it. Finally, I typed one message and sent it to the family group chat. The one I wasn't usually included in, but which Michael had added me to months ago during a brief period when they were pretending to be more inclusive. I know you all had Christmas dinner together yesterday while telling me it was canceled. I saw the cars at Sarah's house and I saw the photos. I need some time to process this. Please don't contact me for a while. I hit send and immediately left the group chat. My phone exploded with notifications, individual texts now since they couldn't respond in the group anymore. But I didn't read them. Instead, I did something I'd never done before in my entire life. I blocked them. All of them. Mom, Dad, Sarah, Michael, Uncle Jim, everyone who had participated in the lie, everyone who was now trying to convince me that my justified anger was an overreaction. The silence that followed was profound. For the first time in my adult life, my phone wasn't buzzing with family obligations, family drama, family members who needed something from me. It was just quiet. That evening, I did something else I'd never done. I called my friend Jessica, who'd moved across the country 2 years ago for a job. We'd kept in touch sporadically, but I'd always been too busy managing family crises to maintain the friendship properly. Amanda, oh my God, hi. How was your Christmas? The simple question broke something open in me, and I found myself telling her everything. The exclusion, the lies, the gaslighting, the research I'd done. She listened without interruption, making occasional sounds of outrage or sympathy. Jesus, Amanda, I'm so sorry. That's horrible. Am I overreacting? Everyone's saying I'm being dramatic. Are you kidding me? They lied to you about Christmas being canceled and then had a party without you. That's not dramatic to be upset about. That's completely justified. And then they tried to convince you it was all in your head? That's textbook gaslighting. Hearing someone validate my reality, someone outside the family echo chamber, was like taking my first deep breath in months. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't overreacting. What had happened to me was legitimately awful, and I had every right to be angry about it. "What are you going to do?" Jessica asked. I thought about it for a moment. 24 hours ago, I would have said I needed to fix this, needed to find a way to make peace with my family, needed to be the understanding one who smoothed everything over. That was my role, after all, the accommodating daughter who never caused problems. But something had shifted in me during those hours of research, during the conversations where my family had lied to my face, and then tried to convince me I was imagining things. "I'm going to have the Christmas I actually want," I said finally, "starting right now." "What does that look like?" I looked around my apartment, at the tree I'd decorated with love, at the presents I'd bought for people who had deliberately excluded me, at the ingredients for cookies I'd planned to make for a family that didn't value me enough to be honest with me. It looks like whatever I want it to look like. For the first time in my life, I get to decide what my holidays look like instead of just accommodating everyone else's vision. After I hung up with Jessica, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months: excitement about the future, not anxiety about managing other people's emotions or coordinating other people's schedules or fixing other people's problems, just pure excitement about the possibilities ahead of me. I spent the evening making a list, not a to-do list for managing family obligations, but a list of things I wanted to do for myself. Things I'd been putting off because I was always too busy being available for family emergencies that I now realized were rarely actual emergencies. I wanted to take that pottery class I'd been considering for 2 years. I wanted to plan a vacation somewhere I'd actually enjoy, not just wherever the family could all meet up. I wanted to reconnect with friends I'd lost touch with because I was always canceling plans when family needed something. I wanted to date again, maybe, without worrying about whether potential partners would fit into my complicated family dynamics. I wanted to find out who Amanda Johnson was when she wasn't defined by her role as the family accommodator. As I was writing, my doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole and saw Sarah standing in the hallway, looking cold and slightly nervous. I didn't open the door. "Amanda, I know you're in there. Your car's in the parking lot. Can we please talk? I think there's been a huge misunderstanding." I stood there quietly, watching her through the peephole. She looked genuinely distressed, and I felt that familiar tug of guilt, the impulse to comfort her, to make her feel better, to minimize my own feelings so she wouldn't be uncomfortable. But then I remembered the Instagram photos, the toast with the family, the perfect holiday caption, the way she'd looked so genuinely happy in a celebration I'd been deliberately excluded from. "Amanda, please, Mom's really upset. Dad thinks you're having some kind of breakdown. Michael's worried about you. Can't we just talk this through?" Even now, even while asking for forgiveness, she was making it about everyone else's feelings. Mom was upset. Dad was concerned. Michael was worried. What about me? What about how I felt? "I'm going to wait out here until you open the door," she called through the wood. "It's freezing, but I'm not leaving until we work this out." I thought about that for a moment. The old Amanda would have opened the door immediately, would have felt terrible that Sarah was cold, would have prioritized her comfort over her own needs. The old Amanda would have made Sarah hot chocolate and apologized for causing family drama. But I wasn't the old Amanda anymore. I went back to my living room, turned on a movie, and continued working on my list. After about 20 minutes, I heard Sarah's footsteps retreating down the hallway. My phone, which I'd been ignoring for hours, showed 17 missed calls and 43 text messages from various family members. I deleted them all without reading them. Then I did something that felt revolutionary. I ordered pizza for dinner. Not because I was sad and eating takeout alone, but because I wanted pizza and I didn't have to coordinate with anyone else's preferences or dietary restrictions or schedules. While I waited for delivery, I opened my laptop and started researching New Year's Eve events in the city, solo-friendly activities, things I could do alone without feeling pathetic or out of place. Cooking classes, wine tastings, even a friendless New Year party for people who wanted to celebrate without couples' pressure or family obligations. The idea of spending New Year's Eve doing exactly what I wanted, with no one to accommodate but myself, felt like the most rebellious thing I could imagine. When the pizza arrived, I ate it straight from the box while watching a movie I'd wanted to see for months but hadn't because it wasn't family-friendly enough for our usual movie nights. I painted my nails a bright red color that Mom always said was too bold for me. I called Jessica back and we spent 2 hours talking about everything except my family drama, her job, her new apartment, the guy she'd been dating, plans for the future. It was the best evening I'd had in months. That night, I slept better than I had in weeks. No anxiety about family obligations, no guilt about disappointing anyone, no mental load of managing other people's emotions. Just the quiet peace of knowing I was exactly where I was supposed to be, doing exactly what I wanted to do. When I woke up on December 27th, my phone showed 6 more missed calls and 14 new text messages. I deleted them all without reading them and blocked 2 more numbers. Extended family members who'd apparently been recruited to reach out to me. Then I did something that felt like stepping into a completely new life. I started planning the New Year's Eve party I actually wanted to have.